Finally, there is another statement from Yoga of Higher Love that refers to everything I've said so far. Yoga of Higher Love doesn't teach how to generate love. If you hear that Yoga of Higher Love is the yoga that generates higher love, you should assume that someone has misunderstood something. Nobody can generate higher love. Higher love is a gift from above. Even such a powerful and sublime yoga as Yoga of Higher Love cannot generate higher love. Why do we need a Yoga of Higher Love then? It comes in handy when you suddenly find yourself in the state of being in love and you won't do the stupid things people usually tend to do. In other words, it is not a philosophical teaching about how to generate this state of being in love. It is about how to protect it and not lose it for as long as possible. I'd like to stress it one more time. This yoga is not about how to avoid losing it in general. It is about how to avoid losing it for as long as possible. Why am I emphasizing this? Because although this is a gift from the highest spheres, where the concept of cause and effect and the concepts of time and space do not exist, nor does the concept of karma, this gift arrives to us in a place where there exists a concept of cause and effect and where there is karma. And no one has cancelled our karma yet. Therefore, our bad karma forces us to do wrong things. As a result, the state of higher love disappears. We can avoid losing higher love, or actually, it is better to say that we can approach conditions where it is impossible to lose higher love, only in one case. If we have already gotten near the brink of escaping the law of cause and effect, or the plane of karma. That being said, we are not talking about a situation where you fall in love and don't want to lose it. To aim for this is to aim for too much. We are talking about something more modest, how to avoid losing this state of higher love for as long as possible. Yoga of Higher Love also states that the longer we manage to remain in this state, the faster all our yogic spiritual transformations go, and the closer we get to the point where we can transcend cause and effect or karma, where it is impossible to lose higher love. The purpose of Yoga of Higher Love is to create an understanding of what higher love is and to give recommendations on how to avoid losing higher love if it reveals itself, or how to prepare yourself for this state if it hasn't arrived yet. The fact that you have never experienced this state of being in love could mean that the universe has had mercy on you. What is the point of giving this gift to a person if he's not able to use it? Just like, what is the point of giving a child a Mercedes as a gift when he still plays in a sandbox? Parents wait until the child gets older. Similar to the parents, the universe waits for us to grow up. However, sooner or later, it can happen anyway. If it does, it is nice to be prepared for this gift already. Finally, there is one more statement it is important to understand clearly. Who can study yoga of a higher love? First, we can only talk about people who are either no longer in love or people who are anticipating this state. For people who are already in love, This yoga is useless. The only thing it is possible to do for people who are in love is to help them in every possible way. One more time. If someone is already experiencing this state and already in love, it is pointless to explain to them what being in love means. It is inappropriate. It is better to help a person or a couple in love to preserve this state in every possible way. Therefore, the Ananda Swami Yoga School tradition believes that if you meet a person who is already in love, it is too late to teach him something. The higher love won't disappear if that person has good enough karma, or a lack of karma to be more exact. If he has negative karma, then it makes sense to wait until this higher love disappears and then start debriefing where he made that fatal mistake. Moving on. We receive this precious gift from time to time. However, our ignorance and foolishness, and as a result, our bad karma destroyed. It disappears. On the other hand, let's look at the situation from another perspective. Let's take a person and examine his state before he fell in love, when he is in love, and after the higher love is gone. Three pictures of the same person in the same place in three different states. Let's see what changes. Before the person falls in love, he would seem the same as it has always been. And the person is the same as he has always been. And then love happens. It can come instantly and unexpectedly, completely out of the blue. The outside world hasn't changed. Not a single atom has disappeared or been created. The person himself hasn't changed either. He remains as fairly stupid or smart as he has always been. He remains as fairly weak or strong as he has always been. But something has instantaneously changed. Then higher love goes away, and formally, nothing has changed. The universe has remained the same as it was before. So, what is the difference between these three stages or these three pictures? The difference is in the vision and self awareness of a person, how he sees and perceives himself and the universe around him. Or, roughly speaking, you see the true nature of the universe when you are in love. For a split second, you see how the universe is actually made. You didn't see it before. Before, you were under the influence of some hallucinations, fantasies, preferences, and delusions that you had. Once you lose higher love, You again slide into the state where you see the universe not as it really is, but distorted. In other words, at the moment when a person is in love, the veil of his ignorance slightly opens, and for a split second, he sees everything as it really is. That is to say, the state of higher love, which sometimes looks like madness, so many songs were written about mad love, is not actually madness, but a supreme logical vision of what is happening, what I am, what the universe is, and the reason why all this is happening. Therefore, there is no formal difference between these three states. But in fact, the difference is colossal. Someone who is not in love sees just one side or one dimension of the universe. However, everything changes in the twinkle of an eye. Technically, nothing has changed. But actually, the most important thing has changed: our vision of how everything really works, our understanding of what the universe was created for, our understanding of laws and life itself. Therefore, a person who is in love is on a higher level than people who are not in the state. The state of supreme higher love is identical to what is called samadhi in yoga. Although strictly speaking, this state is called samadhi with an object. Why? Because there is another stage of supreme higher love that is so high it is impossible to find a single adjective to describe it. It is called samadhi without an object, because there are no words or thoughts to somehow lead our mind closer to what it truly is. That is why people who are in love are not madmen. They might be more normal than everybody else. The rest who are not in love are madmen. In other words, if we are not in the state of higher love, according to Yoga of Higher Love, we are delusional and our view of the world is distorted. We keep making plans, we are afraid of something, pursuing something, we always want something, or we are trying to get away from something. If we are not in the state of higher love, we are like someone who is in delirium. If we happen to fall in love, on the other hand, our vision of the world becomes clearer, although we turn into madmen in the eyes of those who surround us. Indeed, a pragmatist will laugh at how someone who is in love lives. But actually, it is a big question who should make fun of whom, or why other would limit themselves so much.
Moving on. The state of higher love is related to the temporary disappearance of the veil of Maya. By the veil of Maya, I mean illusion, which is creation of Maya. In other words, Maya can create illusion. Remember the axiomatics of yoga. Maya and illusion, strictly speaking, are different things, although sometimes they are equated in ancient texts, or rather, they are equated in more recent texts. Ancient texts actually made a distinction between them. When you are in love, you reach the highest vision and comprehension of the universe outside the veil of illusion. When you are in love, you see everything as it really is. The veil disappears. But when we lose love, the veil of ignorance begins to obscure our eyes, slowly but surely. There is a white wall in front of us again, and we cannot see reality through it. In this state, higher love is gone, and we return to our normal existence. I'd like to emphasize it one more time. Even if we lose higher love, the inner spiritual state of a person before and after falling in love is different. During the time of being in love, a person gets elevated very high and stays there, even if he loses this state after. This is where the mentioning that if you spend a certain critical time in the state of higher love, you will be able to see the universe beyond the veil of delusion. You will also be able to see the reasons why you could lose higher love in the future. If you see them, you will not make these mistakes. As a result, you will reach a state where higher love will never disappear, and you will never be able to lose it. Moreover, this state is equivalent to the highest state in yoga, after which neither Hatha yoga nor any other kinds of yoga are needed. This is the reason why formally yoga of higher love can be divided into three phases. They are called the three stages of yoga of higher love, the first, second, and third ones. The first stage of yoga of higher love is when you are in love. It is when the veil of illusion disappears for a second and you see everything as it really is. But we tend to lose this gift because of our negative karma. After all, higher love is a gift. We lose this state, and the second stage of yoga of higher love begins. This is when we have already experienced this state, either in this life or in the previous ones. And therefore, deep inside, we know for sure, even if we have never experienced it in this life, that this state exists and that it manifests itself from time to time. And we passionately wish to experience it again. But at the same time, we suspect that we can lose it. This is called the second stage of yoga of higher love. In other words, a person is not in love. He had been in love previously, and he waits and hopes to experience this state again. During the second stage period, when he waits and hopes, he is very actively working on himself to eliminate all obstacles or factors that can destroy higher love that might come in the future. What does the second stage of Yoga of Higher Love imply? The second stage of Yoga of Higher Love implies that you practice all three yogas of the triad: Yoga of the Union, Tantra Yoga, and Yoga of Higher Love itself, which has very serious practices as well. Finally, as soon as you have done everything you can, you start getting ready for this gift to manifest itself in your life again. And if this gift comes to you again and you are ready, then you tend to be in the state for that critical time or longer than a certain time. And during this time, first, you see all the remaining defects that you should take care of in terms of your negative karma. And second, you eliminate them immediately, as well as all factors that can make you lose the state of higher love. At the third stage of Yoga of Higher Love, it is impossible to lose higher love in general. We lose our higher love because of our negative karma, our ignorance, and our stupidity. But we have been working hard during the second stage of Yoga of Higher Love. And when the higher spheres send us higher love as a gift one more time, let me stress it again, we receive higher love as a gift. We already know how to treat this state with care, and we reach such a level where we cannot lose higher love in general. As for the first stage of Yoga of Higher Love, we are talking about all people who are in love. If you ever meet people in love, then help them, learn from them, communicate with them. It is the same as communicating with the Absolute. It is the same as communicating with the highest spheres. The fast methods of yoga define this state as a total bhava. Communicating with someone who is in love, even the biggest cheapskate becomes generous. The biggest cynic turns into a romantic. Higher love is blessed. If you see someone who is in this state, be with them, learn from them. As they say, the first stage tends to disappear anyway. The second stage comes along. As a matter of fact, everyone who is present here or who is watching this video is already in the second stage of Yoga of Higher Love because you are interested in this topic. If you had not previously experienced this state in this or previous lives, this topic would not be interesting to you. There would be no dry residue of this feeling. Hatha Yoga seems to be clear. Practice Hatha Yoga and develop your physical body. The same is true of Kundalini Yoga. Practice Kundalini Yoga and develop some supernatural abilities. Thus, there is some dry residue that can be evaluated. Because higher love is beyond this world and these spheres, a person who has never experienced higher love has no interest in it. There is nothing to compare it with. Technically, we are in the second stage of yoga of higher love. And the question is, who belongs to the third stage of yoga of higher love? The answer would refer to those yogis and yoginis who passed on the knowledge of yoga to us. What is most interesting, they even passed on the teachings of Hatha, Kriya, Pranayama, and other kinds of yoga to us, which are only stripped down versions of yoga of higher love for the widest range of people who might have never experienced higher love. They're not interested in the state of higher love. However, they could be interested in practical elements of other kinds of yoga. If we talk about the Ananda Swami Yoga School tradition our school belongs to, these are those yogis and yoginis who passed on this tradition to us, including everything I'm telling you right now, as well as other information you can find in our school. All this was passed on to us by those yogis and yoginis who had reached the third stage of yoga of higher love. But what happened to them? Where are they? Sometimes I hear that yogis and yoginis live in mysterious places, some ashrams, Himalayan caves, and so on. Well, obviously, there are ashrams in Himalayan caves. There are more than enough of them, and not only in the Himalayas. The question is different. Technically speaking, or rather not technically speaking, but in reality, as soon as a yogi or yogini reaches the level of the third stage of yoga of higher love, he or she can go beyond this world at their own will. This world to them is like a kindergarten. If you have grown up already, what are you supposed to do in this kindergarten? You leave it. Of course, you can return from time to time to the place where you used to play in a sandbox. But essentially, you have nothing to do there because the universe is way more fantastic and multifaceted itself. Plus, if we talk about such fundamental things as the factors that launched the beginning of the universe, they are even more interesting than the universe itself. Look at the starry sky. There are so many systems there. Now imagine, then, with the help of the power of your mind or any other power, you can travel to any point of the universe. It would be curious to see what's out there. But it's not even the point. The point is that all these fantastic Alpha Centaurs belong to the plane of our universe. Instead, we see the door that could lead us to the origin that created all this variety. That is why people who have reached the third stage of yoga of higher love go beyond this world. They're not here anymore. More precisely, if they come here, they would have only one goal: to teach us. These are the highest teachers. However, it doesn't mean that they have to live here, or that they are somehow tied to our planet or Alpha Centauri. Not at all. Perhaps someday the following scenario of human development will take place. Humanity will develop the technology. It will outgrow life on Earth. Humanity will board rockets and go to space, leaving our planet Earth to primates, for instance. Within time, there will be another generation of Homo sapiens that will develop from the primates. And we are gone like a wave. There are very serious hints you can find in ancient texts referring to the idea that all these leftovers of the knowledge we have today about yoga, including yoga of higher love, is the knowledge that was passed on to us by someone who had lived during the previous way of spiritual development. Those people had achieved spiritual heights and made the room for us to grow up spiritually. It's like a kindergarten you start going to when you are very little, but it's time for you to leave it when you get older. You walk away, making room for others and leaving your toys behind you. Here's the same thing. If you have reached the state of higher love and have been in it for longer than a critical time, there is nothing left for you to do here. This world has been created for you to experience it. If you have experienced it, what else is there to do here? The only thing you can do is to avoid bothering others, or else you can help them. That is why let me draw your attention to something I often focus on in my lectures if I talk about the state of higher love. As a result, in Western literature, all great love stories end with great tragedies. It is hard not to mention Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, who tragically died in the end. There are so many moments like this. If you analyze early Oriental literature, you will find an opposite common scenario. The usual plot is that Shiva is looking for his Parvati. He finally finds her, and they rise to the highest spheres where there is no time and space. Usually it is either Mount Kailas or some other places. Why? Because it is an empirical fact. Those who haven't lost higher love go beyond this world. Those who have lost it stay and live here. How do I explain where they all go after they reach this state of higher love? As a rule, we start judging others through the lens of our own ideas of what a usual life scenario is. Well, they all died if they're not on this planet. Well, this only shows our shallow way of thinking. As a matter of fact, we all judge other people or fear them through the prism of our own behavior. We are never afraid of something that is not inside of us. We are only afraid of something which slowly but surely grows inside of us. A person is not afraid of being robbed if he has never robbed anyone. A person is not afraid of being murdered if he has never murdered anyone. You get the point, right? If you are afraid of something, it means that the seeds of it grow inside of you. The same is true of our understanding of something. That is why all these numerous tragedies, such as Romeo and Juliet and others, which doesn't diminish timeless Shakespeare poems by any means, with the help of two or three phrases, could be turned into the greatest yogic poems in terms of yoga of higher love. Moving on. When we are in love, the veil of ignorance slightly opens, and for a split second, we get a glimpse of the state we will be approaching when reaching yogic heights. Let me remind you that there are other kinds of yoga besides the triad. They say nothing about yoga of higher love. However, they end up getting us closer to the same state that yoga of higher love does. Regardless of which direction you come from approaching this highest final yogic goal, it is always much easier to follow a path if you have a rough idea of what awaits you at the end. One thing is to wander around in a dark forest at night, being tired and hungry. Another thing is to be on the way to your friend's place, who already set up everything for the party and just waiting for you with the gifts and surprises. It doesn't even seem like a big deal to get to your friend's place. Even better, what a chance to work up an appetite. The same is true for yoga of higher love. Higher love supports us along the way. It is a gift. It is very important to understand the following. It is a gift that is beyond karma. Higher love is beyond karma. In other words, positive karma doesn't guarantee you will fall in love. However, positive karma will help you not to lose it if higher love comes into your life. Positive karma is not for gaining love. It is for not losing it in the future. This is sort of an advance we receive from the universe. The universe is very kind. It always gives us more than we can ever wish for. We live in a world where the laws of cause and effect are negotiable. It is a world that revolves around money. Everything has a price here. Everything can be converted into dollars or something else. However, it doesn't mean at all that these laws are true to the entire universe. No, these laws exist here only. What are they for? What is money for? Why do we need these hard and fast laws of cause and effect? If there is no money, how would you make a lazy moocher work? If he doesn't work, he won't make progress. If he doesn't make progress, he will remain on the same level of his existence. Self-development is the natural result of a work, which doesn't mean money is an absolute must-have to make someone do something. As Karma Yoga teaches, some people work for no particular reason. It is the ideal of Karma Yoga. But not everyone has reached these heights yet. Our world is the same. It may seem to be driven by brutal laws of capitalism. An eye for an eye, a barrel for dollars. But this is nothing but an attempt by the universe to give us a chance to make progress, sharpen our minds, and get rid of our bad tendencies and bad karma. But the universe itself is extremely kind. Higher love is in the impulses that appear in our life from time to time to remind us about spirituality that sometimes get lost in our dull, gray, everyday life. It is like a reminder that we are working through something here and now. We have to do this work both for ourselves and others. But one should remember that higher love comes from higher spheres. Sometimes when higher love comes into our life, it messes up everything and ruins all our plans. It may even appear to us as destructive because of our down-to-earth thinking. However, if we look at it from the standpoint of the highest spiritual spheres, These impulses of higher love actually bring everything that was about to collapse back to balance. I keep repeating a short abstract from another kind of yoga that is a version of yoga of higher love to a certain extent. It is called Shri Vidya yoga. According to Shri Vidya, higher love is the impulse that prevents this world from collapsing. If we extracted all love from our civilization and left only all the factories, financial institutions, our politicians, pragmatists, and sober minded and responsible people who work and think not only about themselves but others as well, I'm not even talking about random people with a low level of self awareness. Even then, such a civilization would gradually turn into hell and be prone to self-destruction. This is what one of Sri Vidya's aphorisms say if we try to explain it with our own words. Higher love is the impulses of life that fix a situation at the very last moment and lead a person away from an abyss. Imagine a person marching straight. He's supposed to walk a certain distance in this direction. He keeps going. It's time for him to make a turn, but he's still going. And there is an abyss ahead. It doesn't mean he has been going in the wrong direction so far. No, it's been the right one. However, from time to time, it's good to shake the most deep-rooted pragmatists, sober-minded politicians, and philosophers to remind them that life is not only about logic, it is also about supreme logic. Higher love, as the impulses of supreme logic, constantly saves us from falling into an abyss. It constantly saves us from a catastrophe. Without these impulses, there is no doubt that sooner or later we will fall into that hole. If there is no higher love, nothing makes sense. If nothing makes sense, what is everything for? This is the main idea of yoga of higher love as well as Sri Vidya yoga. According to both, we are born to experience this state of higher love. All our births and deaths, all our trips to work, all our careers, everything that makes our everyday life should lead us to one thing: the experience of higher love. If we didn't experience higher love, there would be no point in creating such a complex system or universe where we go to work, make money, or strive for power. There would be no point. All this makes sense only in one case: when we are able to preserve higher love as it comes into our life. We go to work and sometimes we swear about how everything is difficult, how we have to make ourselves do something. But in reality, by making money or striving for power, we indirectly, with the help of an invisible broom, sweep a web of negative karma off ourselves. When we go to work, we develop either stress resistance, or responsibility, or reasonability, or something else. These qualities implicitly prepare us. The lessons taught by everything we don't like in this world are beneficial for us. We get ready for the arrival of higher love so that we don't lose it. However, If you go to work or make a career without keeping in mind the idea that higher love will come, it doesn't make much sense. It is not only making a career that doesn't make sense. It doesn't even make sense to work on changing and transforming yourself somehow. Let's take a short break.